For more resources, visit rym.org.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are talking to Joe Deegan. If you've been tuning in this week, you know that we've been catching up with Joe and hearing about how he got into music initially from youth ministry and what he does as RYM's Music Resources Coordinator. Almost messed up that title again. Today we're going to talk about the worship album that Joe has been working on, which he referenced yesterday. So Joe, why don't you just fill us in on kind of what RYM worship is, how you even kind of arrived at that title, as well as, you know, this new album, Promised Land, and the songs that are on there. Just give us a little bit of information about that.
Man, I'll tell you what, I stressed out over the name of this band more than I stressed out over naming my own children. I don't know why. I had such a hard time figuring out what to call it. But,
and maybe sometime we can look at all the emails of just all the suggestions from everybody on staff and everything.
It's always great when you get like 5 or 6 staff members who are all super opinionated and you just throw out ideas because, you know, nothing ever gets accomplished in that sense. And so we just had a bunch of names that we threw out to each other, and I couldn't think of anything that wasn't cheesy. and in a large sense, it just kind of finally led me back to the basics. And I think a big realization that helped me come up with the name was that I finally realized that, you know, we're technically not a band. This is really more of a project. And that kind of freed me up to think about it in that sense and what it should be called. And so I really just landed on the name RYM Worship, which is not clever. It's not super creative, but it is what it is. We are the worship branch, the worship ministry of RYM. And I think that that's going to help people recognize who we are and what we're doing, and ultimately the ministry that we're connected with. And so the more I started thinking of us in terms of RYM worship, the better I felt about it. And I just really like that name a lot. So.
Simplicity is fine.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, come on, there's the Dave Matthews Band and others too. So, you know, no shame there.
Yeah. So anyway, I feel good about RYM worship. The first album will actually be titled Promised Land, which has a lot of deep significance. First off, the first song on the album is On Jordan's Stormy Banks, which is what we close every single conference with, maybe in RYM history. As long as I've been coming to RYM, every conference on the last night the last song is On Jordan's Stormy Banks. And Joey loves that, and I love it. It's such a significant song to see this group of students together who have been having fun and sitting under the preaching of God's word and been worshiping together to lift their voices together and sing I Am Bound for the Promised Land is such a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And because that's such a theme song, we really wanted to record that and make it the first one on the album. And I think titling the album Promised Land is a really cool nod to that song, but it's also a really cool nod to Laguna Beach, which is isn't that where RYM started, where the conferences started there?
Actually, I think it started at Covenant College, Lookout Mountain.
And then it eventually moved to Laguna Beach, where it's been for many years.
Yeah.
And the main meeting room is called the Promised Land. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that's a really cool nod to where RYM has really grown over the years in that little meeting room. And
and it's very disappointed that the cover of the album isn't just, you know, the picture of the Promised Land at Laguna Beach.
The square building with the tin roof. Yeah.
Yes, and duct tape in like various places and all that stuff. But no, I guess shout out to Sarah Dixon for creating the cover
Yes.
of this album.
An amazing
Awesome,
cover.
awesome
I've
cover.
actually talked to several people I've shown the picture to already, and they've been like, man, who did the artwork? It's really good. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yep.
So yeah, it's The Promised Land, first album. We've got 12 songs on it. I wanted to do a mix. For a while, we toyed with the idea of doing one album that's all original songs and one album that's all cover songs. But I landed on wanting to do a mix because I think a mix actually kind of helps bring in more listeners because if it's all like cover songs and hymns, well, that's been done 1,000 times. But if it's all original stuff, people might kind of give that a cold shoulder. But to have an album that has all that stuff mixed might actually draw in more listeners that way. And so we have 6 songs that I actually wrote. And then there are the other 6 are a mixture of hymns with kind of new arrangements, and then a couple new worship songs. And I really like the way all of them turned out, and I'm really excited to share them with the world.
Yeah. And Joe, am I right to say that 3 of those new songs that you wrote, didn't you perform those this past summer at some of the summer conferences? Is that right?
Yes. I think it was just 2
Okay.
that ended up performing. One of them was Every Word, which was kind of our theme song for last summer because the theme was scripture. And the other one was a song called More Than We Know. So yes, those will both be on the album.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's cool too, just to think about, like you said, these were original songs, but for those students who might be listening to this or youth workers listening, they'll be familiar with some of those newer songs that are on. So again, that's just a, point of connection there. Those who were with us last summer. And two, to talk about, I know you mentioned Josh Moore yesterday. Josh Moore helped produce the album. Just tell us a little bit more about Josh and kind of some of his experience.
Yeah, Josh is a worship leader at City Church here in Houston, and he, like I said, he was the keyboardist and producer for Caveman's Call back in the day, and he has just been in the music industry for a while now. He started playing with Caveman's Call when he was, I think, 15 or 16.
Wow.
And he is a virtuoso musician, just incredible. And it's been really amazing getting to work with him. But I think one of the cool things about this album is that I think if you were to ask people, like, what are the favorite songs we sing summer conferences, it's On Jordan's Stormy Banks. And I think right up there with it is We Will Feast in the House of Zion by Sandra McCracken. And what a lot of people don't realize is that Josh wrote that song with her. And so we actually recorded that, and that song is going to be on the album. And it was really cool for Josh to come in and actually get to record the song that he helped Sandra write. And so that's actually the last song on the album, and was really pleased with the way that turned out. And Josh actually sings backup vocals on that one as well.
Nice.
So that was really cool to get to do that with Josh.
Yeah. And there's a few other things I wanted to bring up, but first, why don't you just give us the titles of the songs that we do know? Those that are, I know you already said On Jordan's Stormy Banks. And set to a different tune. I know it's a little more upbeat.
Well, it's the same tune, but it's a little bit more upbeat. The arrangement's going to be a little bit different. Another hymn is How Firm a Foundation, which has always been one of my favorite hymns. It's actually the hymn that I used to sing to all my kids when they were tiny babies and I was rocking them to sleep. I just love that hymn. And it's also, we did a really fun arrangement of it. It's kind of country bluegrass, so it'll be a little more upbeat. Another hymn on there is Jesus, I My Cross Have Taken, which is taken from Indelible Grace and is one of my favorite songs of all time. And the lyrics are incredible, written by Henry Light, hymn writer, who has written some other good ones. But it is, I think one of the interesting things about Henry Light, this is just kind of a little backstory here. He grew up with a pretty terrible father. His dad kind of disowned him. And actually in his later years, his father would write him letters and sign them, "Your Uncle." like he didn't want to even be associated with his son. And so Henry Light grew up with this terrible figure of a father. And if you'll notice in all the songs that he writes, he leans in very heavily to the idea of God being his father. Wow. And even the one of my favorite verses is, I have called thee Abba Father, I have stayed my heart on thee. And then the next verse after that, he says, think what spirit dwells within thee, think what father smiles are thine. And he's just such a poet. And just to be able to sing that to this new arrangement that was written by a guy named Bill Moore, the Indelible Grace did several years ago, I was really happy to get to put that on the album.
Man, yeah, and that is Jesus on My Cross have taken really since college and really getting involved in RUF, singing that song repeatedly, and has become one of my favorites by far, if not my favorite. But I mean, hearing some of that background just then, I think it just made it climb the charts a little bit more. So those are good. What are the other few that are familiar to
so
others?
Jordan Stormy Banks, How Firm, Jesus on My Cross. The other one is Nothing But the Blood. That's just kind of an old, well-known hymn, but I ended up writing a new arrangement to it just musically. So, and I don't even remember when I did this. This was several years ago. I used to lead it this way with our youth group. So that this arrangement has always kind of been stuck in my head. And we ended up doing it this summer at RYM, and I think it went over really well, and really enjoyed the way it turned out in the studio. It's kind of got a soulful feel to it. Josh does a lot of good work on the organ. I like the way that turned out. Isaiah 43 is another good one. Isaiah 43 is a big one that we sing at summer conferences because it's got that guy-girl part with the echo, and that's one of the ones that I think students sing most loudly. In fact, I remember Joey Stewart saying that when he thinks of worship at RYM conferences, the two songs that come to his mind are Jordan Stormy Banks and Isaiah 43. So we included that one on there, and the last one would be We Will Feast in the House of Zion. Yeah,
I'm excited to be able to check this out, and obviously I want you to tell us all those who are listening where they can get this album and when it's available and all that, but also talking about chord charts too. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your plans on chord charts?
Yeah, so I wanted this album to be, I mean, that's part of this branch of ministry with RYM, is that it's a resource. And so we wanted this album to be like available for churches and youth groups to use. And so you can go to our website actually right now. I got them uploaded just the other day, but they're up on the website, the chord charts to each song. And I think you go to rym.org/worship, and you'll see kind of a layout there. And eventually we're going to put like embed the album on the website so you can listen to it there too once it's released. But you can find all the chord charts to every song up there, and even different types of chords, like the chords in the real key. But then if maybe that's a little difficult for a guitar player, some songs might have a capoed version of that. And then I've got chord charts written out in meter. So there's different options there for people who might, need different types of music in front of them when they're playing. So I'm hoping that that's just something that could be a great resource for churches and youth groups who want to use these songs and sing them. And like we said before about our Bible studies, it's completely free. It's on the website. You can go get it right now and look at it.
Yeah, that's good. And I did, as you were talking, I was looking that up. It's, if you go to rym.org/chord-charts, it'll take you straight to it. But like Jay said, if you just go to rym.org/resources, you'll see RYM worship, and you'll be able to figure that out. But yeah, just again, as we want to, as a ministry, constantly serve the local church. And we'll actually speak on that a little bit more on Friday. But yeah, just making resources available for free. So Joe, I know we're closing this out today, but tomorrow I look forward to talking to you just to see kind of long-term vision, goals, thoughts about RYM worship. So thanks again, Joe.
Yeah, man.